The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome to Are You Afraid Cult, the unofficial American Horror Story cult podcast, a PapiChuloRadio.com and Apple Podcasts exclusive. Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. Today is Monday, September 18th, 2017, and I'm your host, Jeffrey Aruz. During tonight's broadcast, we're going to recap, review, and dissect the latest episode of FX's American Horror Story Cult. Please welcome my co-host, Priscilla Rocha.
Hey guys, got some stuff to talk about today.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. Let's jump into our recap of Season 7, Episode 2, which was titled Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, and aired September 12th, 2017. Here's the official synopsis of the episode. Kai starts his campaign for a seat on city council. Allie distrusts the new occupants of the Chang's former home, the Wiltons. At Allie and Ivy's restaurant, tensions fuel between the head chef, Roger, and a Hispanic employee, Pedro. Later, the restaurant's security system trips and Allie goes to investigate, where she finds Roger hanging on a hook amongst the meat in the pantry. Pedro is suspected by Detective Samuels. Allie obtains a gun from the Wiltons. Thereafter, there is a power outage in the city, and Allie is terrorized by clowns in her house. Ivy sends Pedro to deliver supplies to the house, and he is subsequently accidentally shot by Allie. So I want to get your initial reaction to the episode, Priscilla. What did you think of Don't Be Afraid of the Dark?
Man, this show does a good job of making you hate everyone equally, because not Kai already is giving you some real fucked up shit. That discussion in front of the porch was not cool. But that Allie shot the one Hispanic guy, as a Hispanic person, that makes me feel real sad. Damn it. Why? I need to find somebody to root for in this show.
I know, right? I thought the episode was really interesting. I love how they explored Allie's phobias and how they kept on mounting throughout the episode.
Yeah.
I thought the twist with Winter and Allie in the tub was really I don't know where they're going there, but I don't know. I was that surprised me. We sort of got back to sort of the kinky sexual stuff with American Horror Story, which is nice to see, to be quite honest, because I feel the series sort of started off with that, and it kind of disappeared. And the new neighbors, they're something, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you about them. And I'm still suspicious of everybody. So that hasn't changed, for me at least. But before we get into a thorough recap of the latest episode of American Horror Story Cult, here's our announcer with a few special announcements.
Follow Papi Chulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Papi Chulo Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@papichuloradio.com. Are you interested in joining the Papi Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@papichuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chulo Radio programs by visiting poppychuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through Apple Podcasts and Google Play. Just search for Are You Afraid? Cult, and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. All right, let's get into it, and we pick up exactly where we left off in the previous episode. And I feel like we sort of got an answer as to, like, was there a clown or wasn't there a clown? So Allie, turns over in the bed, and the dildo clown is in the bed with her, and she runs to Ivy, and Ivy's ready to call the police, but they're like, no, Oz. And so they go up, and they investigate, and Ivy's doing sort of like the thing that you do when your child, I guess, is afraid of the dark and is scared of monsters in the closet. She looks under the bed, she looks in the closet, and finally she ends up sort of like rolling her eyes, and she's like, really? Like, there's nothing here. And she even says something to the gist of, I don't know how much more of this I can put up, basically. But Allie is still shaken, and she's unsure of, like, what's real and what isn't, and is she losing her grip on reality. And so Ivy ends up comforting Allie, and it seems like they're about to start fooling around. Elsewhere, Oz wakes up after his light sort of flickers, and he ends up seeing Twisty the Clown in his room, and the dildo clown as well, and they chase him into the bathroom, and he screams out to his moms, but it turns out that what Oz was seeing was a night terror. So, let's talk about this opening scene. Priscilla, what did you think of the start of the episode?
Man, didn't we preface like the end of the last episode that we were talking about, like wondering whether or not the dildo clown was real? And I couldn't make up my mind, and now, like, seeing the episode, like, I should have gone with my gut and gone with that it was an imaginary tale, because, yeah, I don't buy it with Allie. It feels like, have you ever seen those movies where somebody imagines things and they become real?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it feels like that's what's going to happen with these clowns, that she just keeps imagining bad shit happening, and they're the ones that are doing it. I'm not sure they're a cult. Yeah.
Really? Because I felt like the dildo clown is real.
Really? Like,
yes.
So during that home intrusion scene, like, you were like, where did they go? Like,
well, because I have, like, my theory from last time, and I'm still sticking to it. I feel like people in Allie's life they're all a part of the cult. They all are. Like, I still can't figure out exactly who, but I feel like a lot of people in Allie's life is a part of the cult. Like, I am 100% suspicious of Ivy. I feel like she is a part of the cult. 100%. And we haven't gotten to them yet, but I feel like the neighbors are a part of the cult, and I'll explain why once we get into them. But there's this weird theory that I found online. Actually, I believe it was the same day that I posted the podcast on Apple Podcasts and our website, made available to download. So we didn't get a chance to discuss it because I didn't discover it until later. And this is the theory. Mm-hmm. And I think it makes sense, although I don't know the motivations behind it. So there was a scene in the previous episode where Winter asks Oz, so who's your dad? Like, who carried you? Do you know anything about your father? Blah, blah, blah. The theory online is that Kai is Ozzy's father.
Oh, but what would you get out of this? Like,
I know, that's the thing I don't understand. Something that I feel sort of backs this up is earlier this summer when Ryan Murphy announced who Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters were playing. he put out this image of both of the characters, and he said something to the gist of they're playing star-crossed lovers again, or something like that. And once we found out more about the characters, I mean, it doesn't make any sense that they would be star-crossed lovers, per se, like in a physical sense, because she's playing a lesbian character, and he's playing, this extreme bigoted character, and they're on the opposite ends of the political spectrum, and it seems like as if they're going to be antagonistic towards one another. So that doesn't make any sense. But if Allie and Ivy went to a sperm bank, and Allie was the one that carried Ozzy, then there will be some sort of connection between Allie and Kai. And I guess you could sort of call it star-crossed lovers in the sense that the idea behind star-crossed lovers is that they're doomed to begin with. So that's maybe... I could see that happening.
It feels like the star-crossed lovers thing was probably like an idea that they shot around with, though, and like it didn't work out because they decided to switch it up in the end. I don't necessarily believe that with like data that old, it's still applicable to this time. Like you know how Ryan Murphy kind of like switches up on a dime, like with all of his like theories and things to think up of for each season. So I'm still holding it. Like I don't buy that Kai is his father yet.
I don't buy it yet either because we don't have any proof.
How old do you think Kai is in comparison to Allie?
I don't know. But they were in a couple, like the actors, they were paired up as a couple in the previous iteration of American Horror Story, so...
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right.
I don't know. I don't know if I fully buy it yet, because I still don't understand why he's targeting her unless in his sort of psychopathic mind, this is the way that he can get her out the picture so that he can be in his child's life. But even that doesn't hold up fully. Mm-hmm. Although I do still feel 100% that a lot of people in Allie's life is a part of the cult. I don't know why they're targeting her, though. That still doesn't make sense. Even if, let's say, Oz is Kai's child, like, it still doesn't fully make sense as to why they're targeting her. So I hope that there's a bigger reason beyond, I want my child or something. That child should be raised by me. He's going to be a leader like I am or something like that.
Mm-hmm. It's something that could, in theory, be true. It's a sound theory, but it needs more evidence before I'll like pursue it or think that it's actually right. For now, all I have to say about like that sort of thing, who the hell names their kid Ozymandias? What the fuck is up with that name?
Lesbians in Michigan?
I want them to die just because of that stupid name. Poor kid. Oh, God. Then Ivy and Allie, I don't know. Like, I feel bad for Ivy. Like, I don't necessarily believe she's part of the cult. I just feel like she's, like, half of a unit that isn't really working right now because the other one doesn't, like, refuses to go get therapy or take her meds. I don't know.
I hate that you feel compassion to Ivy. But it's
Why?
interesting. It's interesting. I can't get behind her. Like, I feel like she's being unsupportive. Like, if you got into a relationship with this woman and you know that she has these phobias, like, I completely understand, she might be frustrated with the fact that maybe she's not trying to get the help that she needs. But I'm like, come on, like, you've got to be much more supportive. Like, if you've been with her for as long as you have, since September 11th in 2001, so that's 16 years now. You've been through the good times and the bad times. If she's having a rough patch right now, you should be a little bit more supportive. Like, I don't see her fully committed to the relationship, whereas I see Allie much more fully committed to the relationship.
See, I get, I understand where you're coming from, but like it must be so much stress and pressure to like try to keep up everything like at the restaurant, try and be the face of the restaurant too, which is not what you signed up for in the first place. Taking care of a kid, which factors in something completely new to the relationship and makes him the priority. And you have somebody who's kind of like refusing to change or to like step up and do what she promised she would do, like, and give like just excuses for it, where like you feel like, oh, if you're giving like the political climb this, like everybody felt shook up by what happened, but in the end time goes on, like you have to move on. And I don't feel like, of course, like that's not the point of this show. Like you're going to show how people are like affected by by what happened, but still, I don't know, like I find Allie to be a very like annoying character.
You know, I'm not going to disagree. I agree with you on that. But I just feel sympathy to her. Like, I feel bad for her. And, I don't know.
Like both
It's
of us
interesting.
combined, they're nice people.
There you go. You combine both of them into, like, the perfect person.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So, next up, we're introduced to, although we don't see her, we're introduced to Adina Porter's character on the show because she's doing a news report on Kai. Her name is Beverly Hope. She's a reporter in Michigan for Channel 7. And it turns out that this couple, Harrison and Meadow Wilton, are the people that captured Kai's beating on video, although the video does not show that Kai sent a condom filled with urine. He flung it at the Latinos that ended up beating him up. So we do see that it appears the incident was staged in particular to increase Kai's visibility and increase it so much so that he can announce that he will be running for the city council seat that had been vacated by the murder of Tom Chang, aka Ivy and Allie's across the street neighbor.
Rip.
Yes. And these individuals that captured the video, they actually move into the Chang's home, and Allie goes in to snoop and peek, and Harrison ends up catching her, and it turns into a very awkward situation.
Not even trying to like be sneaky about it. She just blatantly goes up to the window and to take a peek at what they're doing.
Yes, and then she bolts.
It's not even a peek, it's a look. And when she bolts, she doesn't like run fast. She just kind of like walks briskly to her home.
Yeah, that was...
I was like, wow.
Poor
This is what
Allie.
neighbors do? This is bad neighbors.
I know, right?
Oh, I don't know. Like, it's until you said this right now that I put together that Harrison filmed that the Kai's interaction with the immigrants. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I thought they were just like responding to, I don't know, like that they were just people that were called upon to like say like, have you seen this video? What did you think about it? Like, the fact that they did that. Damn it! I thought they were good people.
That's why I think they're a part of the cult.
Yeah, they're a part of the cult.
Either one
For
of them.
sure.
Like, one of them or both of them are a part of the cult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Harrison said some suspicious things. Let's actually get into that. So, well, right before we get into them, Winter and Oz, they're fighting, or at least Oz is, because he's like, you lied. Like, you didn't tell my mom's what I saw. Like, you're making it seemed to them as if it was just my imagination. And that's where Winter says something to the gist of, sometimes you gotta make people believe what they want to believe. And she ends up doing the pinky swear ritual thing that we've seen in the past, the same thing that she did with Kai and that we see in the opening credits. And she does it with Oz so that it can free him of his fear. She's like, I'll take in your fears, and just don't lie to me, when we're doing this pinky thing, and it'll make both of us stronger. And so one of his fears is that he's scared of the house across the street, and he's scared of like the new neighbors moving in, scared of the clowns, and that kind of thing.
Now that explains what the hell was going on with that thing in the first episode. I was like, what is this ritual for? What's going on here? And now, okay, it's to provide strength and balance in the other person, while the first one takes up the fears.
Yeah, it's still cool. Weird.
It's
weird
cool.
and creepy.
I find that it's like it is weird and creepy, but I'm like, wow. It feels like this. It feels like shit that cult members do to one another to like psych themselves up and stuff.
I know, to do something crazy so that they don't have the fear for it.
Yep.
So after that, I guess Oz loses his fear of the new neighbors, and they go and meet the new neighbors. And at the time, Ivy and Allie sort of panic because they don't know these people and this, that, or the other. But they end up just finding him playing with Harrison's bees. Harrison is a beekeeper, and Harrison ends up having this really interesting conversation about a hive and how everyone has a job, but everyone's job is for leads to the same result. So there are no questions, there are no arguments, there's nothing. You know what you do, you know what you have to do, and you know what you need to do to get to the end result, which I thought that was really interesting. Because, there's this whole correlation this season between bees and hives and cults. We've seen it in the ad campaign for the series this season.
Yep. You see it in the opening. It's a pretty powerful statement.
It is. It really is. And Meadow ends up bringing the ladies inside, and she talks about being a cancer survivor and how she only likes to stay outside for about 10 minutes at a time, and they reveal a whole bunch of information about themselves. Apparently they reveal that the Changs were renters, and so immediately once they heard that the Changs had died, they called up the owners and placed a bid. Apparently they've gone through bankruptcy and whatnot, and so they basically took advantage of the situation so that they could move into a new home. They're also the co-presidents of the Nicole Kidman fan club, at least the Michigan chapter. They have a lot of Nicole Kidman memorabilia. Harrison reveals that he's gay, and apparently they made a pact that once they turned 35, that they would marry each other if they were still single. And he gets the chance to go out on the town in a different zip code one night a week to get his party on. And somehow this marriage works for them.
As long as he takes his HIV prophylactic, he's okay.
Exactly.
I thought that joke was it went straight over my head until my boyfriend started to laugh and he told me about it, and I was like, oh, whoa, Ryan Murphy. I cannot believe he made that joke, but
he did.
It's American Horror Story. It's shock and awe.
Exactly. And once they start asking them about their life, all of a sudden, Allie's like, nope, we gotta go. We gotta get Ozzy in the bath. And as they leave, Allie just notices the blood still on the floor. She notices the weird symbol that was on the door. And she's basically like, how can you guys do this? How can you live here? And the new neighbors, the Wiltons, were basically like, we're not scared. We don't have any fear about it.
thus tying it back to fear and the premise of this entire season.
Exactly.
Cults and
They are interesting because
they're
they
giving them
seem
hints.
very suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
Like all their looks, they just seem something's up. Whether both of them are in the cult or at least she's in the cult. Because I feel like Ivy's in the cult, 100%. Like she's in the cult, damn it. And maybe Meadows in the cult, but Harrison isn't, because that would kind of mirror Allie and Ivy, where one half of the couple is in the cult and the other half isn't, maybe? I don't know. I don't...
Whereas I feel like both
Mhm.
of the couple are in the cult, but
They
not
could be.
Ivy and Allie. Not yet.
Okay. They both could be, though, because they were there filming, so that immediately makes them, both of them, suspicious to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, let's rewind for just a moment. Earlier that day at the butchery on Main, Ivy is planning the night out, and then there's this argument in the kitchen among the staff, and a character that we're introduced to by the name of Roger, who's a sous chef at the butchery on Main, gets into a fight with one of the employees, Pedro Morales. He's clearly racist and has an issue with Pedro, and Pedro has issues with him. But the fight is sort of calmed down, and even though Roger wants to fire Pedro, Allie's basically like, we can't fire an immigrant, during this time, with all the racial tensions out there. And so, but things sort of calm down. So that night, Ivy ends up getting a phone call that the alarm system at the restaurant was tripped. And so she's got to go check, but Oz is afraid to sleep alone, and he clearly prefers Ivy to Allie when it comes to sort of scary situations. I guess he senses...
No shit.
I know, right? He senses the calm in Ivy versus Allie. But, Allie's like, what, I'll do it. I will go check it. If something is broken or something, if it looks like there's a break-in, I'll call the police. I won't go inside, and I'll do it. She's like, I'll be gone an hour. It'll be fine. And so she arrives, and everything seems fine. She turns off the alarm. Everything seems good to go. When she hears a weird noise, and she hears it coming from the meat locker. So she goes inside, and she keeps on hearing these strange metallic-y sounds, and she sees a blood stain on the floor, and when she backs up, she backs right into Roger, who is frozen and hanging from a meat hook. Continuing on in this chronology, because we do flashback to what ended up happening, Allie notices that Roger is still alive. So she does what I guess anybody would do when you panic. You try to pick him up off the hook, and that is probably like the worst thing that you could do because it makes the blood come out faster, and obviously Roger dies. So the following week, she's feeling this intense guilt over it. She feels like she killed Roger. She's hired a security company to tighten up the security in the house, bars on the windows, on the doors, and bolts and all that kind of stuff. Her therapist, Rudy Vincent, shows up thanks to Ivy, who calls him in, and Rudy does say that he was worried for Allie, in particular because she had skipped a couple of sessions, and this is when Allie sort of fills him in on what happened, on what she did, and why she feels culpable, and she even feels like the police aren't any help at all either, because the Detective Samuels, who we were introduced to in the previous episode, he's trying to pin it on Pedro, and Allie feels that it's racially motivated. And Allie feels that her phobias have actually prepared her for this new climate of fear around. And she even admits to Rudy that the neighbors gave her a gun, although not the gun that Nicole Kidman used in the movie Cold Mountain. And she's like, you can't tell Ivy, this is doctor-patient confidentiality. And so he promises not to. And he does, though, tell Ivy that he's concerned about Allie developing her agoraphobia and that she should be monitored as often as possible. And Ivy's like, I can't because of the restaurant, but we do have a new nanny, that can watch her. So.
Ooh, do you really want that new nanny watching
I know,
her,
right?
though?
So let's break all of this down. Let's talk about Roger and Pedro and Allie.
Do you actually believe that Pedro did it?
No, of course not. That's the
No.
cult, even though you don't believe they're real.
Yeah. Like, I don't think it was the clowns, but I think it's part of the cult. I think Kai is using it to, like, foster anti-immigrant, like, fear in people again, making it seem like as if somebody, like, was responsible for killings and murders happening everywhere. I figured as such that it was going to be something like that. And God, I that detective, he's part of the cult too, man.
You know it.
That weird hair too.
Yes.
Super pale blonde.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, I'm suspicious of him. I was suspicious of racist Roger, but he's dead. Although, if he's a part of the cult, or if he was a part of the cult, there are a lot of cults where they're like, you need to die as a sacrifice, for the greater good, for the greater cause. So come on, he might have been convinced to do it if he was a part of the cult.
I think he was just a racist. I think
Well,
he was
there's
just a
that too.
guy who was like, I don't know, who let the leadership of the kitchen kind of get in the way. And he's like, he was a sous chef that is finally getting, like, the respect that he demands, and he wanted, like, his kitchen to be run a certain way, and he couldn't because of Pedro. So he liked blaming him and, like, hoping that he'd get fired. I don't know, like, I don't feel bad that he died, but I feel bad at the way he died, because holy shit, that was metal. Like, I saw that and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's something out of Saw.
I don't know. Like, if he was part of the cult and the cult allowed him, like, as a sacrifice for this, damn, did you really want to be part of that cult? Because, shit.
Well, if you really
not a
believe
good
in
way to
it,
go.
if you believe in it, and if you're part of the hive mentality of the greater good, then, I guess that's what happens. I did like the little shade that they threw at Beyonce because of, like, the Bayhive and that whole thing. Like, earlier in the episode, Meadow was like, would you like some Crystal Light lemonade? And she was like, oh, every time I drink lemonade, I think of Beyonce or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. I forgot.
That was
Yeah.
interesting. That was kind of funny because the Bayhive, and it just goes into the whole hive and bees and the hive mentality. So next up is the really fascinating scene of the episode. There's a knock on the door, a shave and a haircut, and Allie gets freaked out because, that's what Allie does. And she takes a knife, and she opens the door. It's got, it also has the other door in front of it with the bars. And she finds Kai on her porch, basically campaigning for city council. And she's like, I know you. You're the guy from TV that's running. But you're also the dude that threw his latte on me and my wife. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so clumsy and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, no, you did it on purpose. And he's like, well, even if I did, haven't you ever done anything that you regret and all this kind of stuff? And, he tries to talk to her about like what he wants to do and how they're coming for us, and we need to protect us from them, and that's why I'm running, and all of these statistics on rapes and murders and all this kind of stuff. She's like, that doesn't even sound right. Like, where are you getting your information? He's like, from Facebook. And she's like, I really feel like you need to do extra research and find some credible sources. And they basically sort of discuss their different political views and how he wants to keep everybody out and she wants to build bridges. And so he's like, yeah, but you have this steel door and it looks fresh and it looks strong, and what's that behind your back? Do you always bring a knife when you answer the door, and what are you going to do? Are you going to melt down these bars and create a bridge from this? He's like, fear is all around, and you need to be careful before they start coming after you. And she ends up slamming the door in his face. But he does go into like the whole thing of like a humiliated man, and how a humiliated man should either be forgiven and embraced, or he might turn into darkness, which I thought that was interesting and a weird thing to say to someone who you're trying to get to vote for you. Although obviously he isn't, and he was there on purpose for something, which I guess we'll find out in the future. But what did you think of that scene between both of them?
It was fraught with tension. Like, that part was so well done. Like, you feel the anxiety that she feels holding the knife behind her back and just like talking to somebody who she feels is completely like wacko. And you've everybody's experienced like that one person in their Facebook feed who keeps posting like these jank ass articles with these like horrible statistics, and they're like, see, this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt what I believe in, which is probably like a little bit skeezy or racist or something. And like this, I like how Ryan Murphy keeps putting in like little hints of that, of reality, into the show, into the madness. It adds flavor to it. Like, it makes it interesting. I felt that I still felt that he was pretty convincing as like an orator. Like, he's very charismatic, obviously. And up until he got to the humiliated man part, like, you could see that he's got charm, and he's trying his best to get her, if not necessarily to agree with him, then to learn something new about herself through these like machinations. I thought it was cool.
I like that we're seeing like the darker side of Evan Peters again, because it's been a long time since he's played such a dark character. Like, not since, I'd say, season 1 with Murder House and Tate. Like, we're seeing glimpses of Tate in Kai, which I like. I like that they're making him like full-on villain. I feel like Ryan Murphy in the past has tried to like make him heroic, like, because he has this fan base. Like, a lot of women like him, and a lot of women like really fell in love with the Tate character, even though I feel like the Tate character was very despicable. And,
Yeah, agree.
He was not like a romantic character. He was a psychopath. But because of his relationship with, and now I'm not remembering. Violet, there you go. I was about to say, I can't remember Taissa Farmiga's character. But because of his relationship with Violet, they sort of humanized the character, and a lot of women like fell for it, and they love them some Tate. But and in previous seasons after Murder House, they've really tried to give him more nice, human, gentlemanly characters for the most part. And it's great to see him like really embrace like a psychopathic villain. Like I loved this scene with them together. Like at the end when he was like spewing out like all these things that killers say to like try to get into people's houses, I was like, good grief. Like
That was creepy as fuck.
Yes.
I forgot about that. Yes. Oh my god.
oh, I'm so thirsty, can I get something to drink? Oh, I really need to use the restroom. Oh, my car stopped. Or, oh, I'm injured. Can I come inside to call 911? I was like, good grief, man. And he was like changing his voice and, really acting it out. I was like, bitch, you crazy.
Lock the door. Shut it. And run to
Yeah.
another room too.
I know, right? Exactly. It was really good. A very well done scene and very well acted by both.
Yep. Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see more of Kai.
Yeah, and a lot more Kai with Allie. Because they're really fascinating together. So elsewhere, Pedro is sort of pleading his case to Ivy, like, you don't believe that I did it. Come on, like, you know me. And Ivy, she doesn't, like, do the best job at, like, reassuring him that she believes him. But basically she's like, everyone here is family. And, like, we all know each other and we all care about each other and all this kind of stuff. She also confesses that she had to get rid of all of the meat that was in the freezer, and she put out a second mortgage on her house to like buy all the meat and this, that, or the other. And so she's really stressed out, and because of this like additional financial burden that happened because of Roger dying in the meat locker, the meat freezer, whatever you want to call it. Elsewhere, Winter puts Ozzy to bed, and he wants to do the pinky ritual thing again, but Winter's like, no. And he's like, yeah, but what if, I don't know if I'm asleep or if I'm awake, and what if I see the clowns? And I'm not worried about them coming in real life, but what about in my dreams? And Winter's like, just ask. If you feel like you see something, just ask. That's normal.
I loved her leaving with just saying like, you don't need that shit like tucking you in and all that crap, right? No? Okay, good. Bye.
Yeah, that was
She's
funny.
like the worst babysitter ever.
She's Scary Poppins. That's too funny. With her, sort of Wednesday Addams motif.
Yeah, the Lolita.
Yes. So, Allie is contemplating taking her medication, and she ends up telling Winter, Ivy wants me to take it, but I don't really want to take it because it makes me foggy and whatnot. And so Winter's like, well, there's another way to relax and to take your mind off of everything, with some red wine and some bath salts. And so she ends up running a bath for Allie, and Allie ends up getting in it. Winter goes and checks on Ozzy, and Winter ends up, entering the bath again and sort of startles Allie, but Winter ends up giving Allie a sponge bath. She starts off with her back, and then she goes to her front, and then it sounds like the sponge is dropped, and it sounds like she's about to do something else, and it looks like they're about to kiss, but all of that is interrupted by the power going out. And the lights go out. It seems as if there's a power outage all throughout the state, and Harrison ends up banging on the door downstairs, and he's like, there's a power outage, there's like an entire blackout throughout several states, and he's like, maybe it's a terrorist attack, maybe it's ISIS or the Russians or North Korea, and he ends
Lesbians were under attack.
Yes, and he ends up giving them two candles made from the beeswax that should last them, until the looters are gone or something like that. So he riles them up, and so Winter ends up leaving because she's like, I need to take care of my ceramics. So, shit ain't always about you, Allie. So she leaves. So Ivy calls, I mean, I should say Allie calls Ivy, and Ivy's like, I need to find a generator, you know, all this meat and whatnot, and Allie's phone ends up dying mid-call. And so Ivy sends Pedro to the house with some supplies, candles, and it's just a whole bunch of stuff. And so, I will say, earlier, as Winter was trying to get her seduction charm on with Allie, a clown ends up entering Oz's room. And Oz is like, am I asleep? Is this a dream? Are you real? And the clown tells Oz that you're asleep. And so Oz ends up, getting back into bed and going back to sleep. So, Allie's now home alone. She's trying to lock up all the doors. She ends up checking the alarm system and it's not working, and she's like, what about the battery backup? So she goes back to check on it, and all the wires are cut. And actually, right before that, she ends up looking out the window and she sees the ice cream truck that we saw before parked outside of their house, like right across the street. And so now she's realized that the security system has been sabotaged, and she sees a clown, and the clown blows out her candle. And so she rushes upstairs to grab her gun. She runs into another clown. In probably one of my favorite moments, the clown gets tossed over the stairs, and like you hear the clown go, ugh, when they land on the ground, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Thought it was funny. And so she grabs her gun, she collects Oz, wakes him up, and they go down to the kitchen, and Allie's got a plan. She's like, we are going to run. You're going to run for your life to the neighbor's house. We will be safe there. Don't let go of my hand. And so she ends up opening the door, and she sees a figure in the shadow, and she shoots the figure out of terror, and it turns out to be Pedro, who falls dead on the doorstep. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Winter and whatever she was trying to do, and let's talk about the blackout and the clowns. And of course, Pedro.
Do you think Winter is that clown that talked to Oz and asked and told him he was asleep? Because it was a female clown.
I kept on rewinding it to hear the voice, because I was like, who is this? And I don't know. I felt like it was a male voice. Although it could be a female voice, trying to deepen it. So maybe. But no, you know what? No, I don't think it could have been her, because this clown hid in the closet. And we ended up seeing her again.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, is this Colton Haynes? Is this Detective Samuels? Because the clown had a more, like, slender physique.
Mm-hmm.
And then the clown, the melted clown with the hands coming out the head, I don't really know what we would call that one. The one that's got, like, a baby face with, like, the baby hands popping out of the head. That was on the stairs. I was like, maybe that was Meadow. Because it sounded like a female voice, like a female not like a male, like a deeper
Mm-hmm. I think that one's probably Meadow, but shit, I was excited to see Allie have some brass balls and actually like go on the attack here with the clowns.
Yeah, that was good.
She's leveling up here, becoming a better person.
Yeah, she's got to do something.
Yeah. But man, did she have to shoot Pedro?
I know, poor Pedro.
And knowing like that this is gonna be like a chat on the politics of the situation. Like she's totally gonna like get away with it like scot-free without any problems because she's white.
Oh, 100%. Even though Detective
Mhm.
Samuels is sketchy, like he's gonna be like, oh, okay, like he probably looked, I don't know, like
Look suspicious
exactly
carrying
like
things.
suspicious, and who goes to the back porch, and why didn't he knock on the front porch? That was suspicious. Maybe he's the one that cut the wires, or he'll pin it on him.
Yeah.
What did you think about Winter's seduction attempt?
I don't know what the fuck that was about. I was like, holy shit, American Horror Story getting all salacious and sexy again.
Yes.
But I was wondering, like, what is her end game here? Why does is it that she wants to ingrain herself in the family? She wants Allie to like her a lot, and she wants Oz to like her, and like she's slowly gonna like use them to like oust Ivy or something. Like, what is going on here? Like, I don't see what her end game is, but I like that I don't because it makes me question more and more her motives and what she's there for.
I can agree with that. I was confused by the whole situation because I was like, I don't know why you're doing this, but I like it. And I don't know. Like I'm confused because if the power had not gone out, like I think she was ready to finger bang her, and whatever was gonna, that was gonna lead to, whether they were gonna have full on sex or something. Like it seemed as if she was ready to go to town, and
Yeah.
Allie was ready for her to go to town as well. Like they had their bus passes to downtown, and they
She
were
was
both
totally
headed
just
there.
she was just accepting all of this going on. I'm like, lady, you have a wife. What the hell? Wake the fuck up. What are you doing?
Oh, I loved it because Winter was like, Ivy doesn't need to know about this. I was like, oh, you get it, with your poison Ivy ass. Not
Yup.
well, her name is Ivy, the woman, but I'm talking about Winter being all
With your winter.
poisonous, like Poison Ivy the movie with Alicia Silverstone.
Yup. Homewrecker.
I have no idea what she's doing. I'm sure it's part of the plan, but I'm confused, but I'm here for it. Like I want to see if she's gonna try to continue on this seduction train in the next episode.
Hmm.
She's gonna tell Oz, "I'm gonna be your new mother."
Oh my god.
It's gonna turn into
Which would totally which
the
would
hand that
totally be
rocks the
weird
cradle.
if it works with the whole Kai being the father of it, then
Mm-hmm.
like Kai's the father and Winter is the replacement mother. Wow, what the just freaking American Horror Story doing what it does best.
Being creepy as fuck.
And confusing as fuck.
Exactly. So let's get into the MVP, the most valuable player, the character that impressed you the most, and why. There's only two of us, but the rule is still the same. If one of us selects a character, you have to choose a different one, and I'm in a giving mood. So Priscilla, you may go first.
You're killing me because now I'm like trying to remember what the hell his first name was. Um, I'm sorry. Like I
Harrison?
can't. Yeah, Harrison. What? Yeah,
Wilton,
I
the neighbor.
yeah. I remember like the name was Wilton, but I didn't remember what the hell his first name was. Harrison is so cool. His like his whole soliloquy about the bees was really awesome, and not to mention like I can totally buy him being like a red like log cabin Republican like sort of way, and I totally buy like the whole like I don't know evil Craig from Parks and Rec that he got going for him, and I like him. My favorite line of the episode was "Lesbians were under attack." It's so good. I used that afterwards so many times. It was so good. Yes, I like him, Harrison,
I
for sure.
approve. Shout out to Billy Eichner, because I'm so used to him on Billy on the Street, and to see him play such a different role was really kind of cool to see. So props to him and his
Mhm.
acting. I'm going to give my MVP to Kai, in particular for that scene between Kai and Allie. I mean, that was everything. To see him go from, his public persona to this like creepy, psychotic, psychopathic, sociopathic, insane nut job in the span of like 5 minutes, within the span of a single conversation, was really fascinating to watch. So kudos to Evan Peters, because he did a really great job with. I mean, that scene alone, like for me, made the episode, because it was just so fascinating to see his interaction with Allie.
Yep, completely agree. You picked a if I wasn't gonna pick Harrison, I would have picked Kai. It was they were obviously the best characters, and I'm kind of glad that we didn't have the rest of our co-hosts, because we totally would have robbed the best ones.
I know, right? Exactly. So now it's time to rate the episode. How would you rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10 clown masks? The point system is allowed, and if you find the episode exceptional, deserving of more than 10, you may grant it the coveted Twisty the Clown mask. So we'll go in the same order. So Priscilla, you're first.
I totally gave it 8 clown masks. Like it improved from being kind of like just confusing for the sake of being confusing the first episode, in my opinion at least. I remember not giving it a very good thing. I gave it like a 6 or a 6.5. But this time around, like with that debate that they had with Kai, with the introduction of the new character, like with the introduction of new drama coming up with 2 murders on hand, one of them done by Allie, like it's shaping up to be an interesting season. So 8 clown masks.
I believe I gave an 8 for the pilot episode, or the season premiere, however you want to call it. I'm gonna give this one an 8.5, for basically all the reasons that you gave, Priscilla. The new neighbors, sort of like amping up the paranoia, at least for me, like trying to figure out who's a part of this cult and who isn't. The interactions with the characters were really good this episode. I liked all the stuff between Winter and Ozzy. I liked the Winter and Allie stuff, the Allie with Kai stuff, the two couples getting to know each other. Like it was a really decent episode, and I'm curious to see what's to come next. But on that note, join us next time for a brand new installment of Are You Afraid Cult? Once again, here's our announcer to remind you on how you can interact with us.
Follow Poppy Chula Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Poppy Chula Radio. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@poppychularadio.com. Are you interested in joining the Poppy Chula Radio team as an on-air personality? Email talent@poppychularadio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Poppy Chula Radio programs by visiting poppychularadio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through Apple Podcasts and Google Play. Just search for Are You Afraid, Cult, and subscribe.
Thanks, announcer. My co-host, please wish the listeners a good night.
Keep your candles close, everybody. Night.
Thanks for tuning in. Download new episodes of Are You Afraid Cult every Thursday via Apple Podcasts and the Poppy Chula Radio archives. Good night.